Meteorologist Casey Cloud coming on the air right now here on this Wednesday night, this February 4th, 2026. We have a wildfire alert for parts of Southern Flagler County, as we do have evacuations recommended by the Flagler County Emergency Management there. Let me go ahead and throw up that graphic. This is just a general area on our one mapping system, but the graphic here is a much more important one. This is from the Flagler County Emergency Operations Center here. They're talking about how there's a brush fire in the area there. In that red square is where evacuations are recommended between East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road and Old Dixie Highway and Deer Hunter Road. Just as we're looking there, they're recommended, these residents are, if you're in that area, you're recommended to evacuate there in the Flagler County at this time due to a fire situation. I know a shelter is being opened there at Fire Station 16, 3935 Old Dixie Highway there near the Publix. This is, there you see the community of Corona. We talked about it with tornado cover before. I mean, I believe when we were first doing this, 2019, we had a tornado down there, and we haven't really ever had in all these years to have to come on for a wildfire situation. It's very tricky because there's not like a uniform, like a fire alert that gets issued around here generally. I know some parts of the country you will get a fire warning, but around here it doesn't really happen like that. But you can get evacuations for a period. We had some of that in Baker County earlier on, but by the time you sometimes are able to, hear about that on a more wider scale, it's already become a better scenario where things are more under control, which is great news. But sometimes it's a little harder to get out messaging versus like a tornado, or even some of these you can't even see on radar, and they're still causing issues here in toward these areas. So you have to really kind of follow your local emergency management, your local sheriff's offices, and your local, county level officials here, because this is something that, can really develop very rapidly. Luckily, we have some rain moving on in. Part of the area already getting rain, so you might be wondering, like, why is there a wildfire now? Well, they haven't really got the rain down there yet. I'll go ahead and switch on over toward the Doppler radar here. We luckily are going to get that rain in there, though, so this shouldn't be something, hopefully, that's too long lasting. I know in terms of tonight now and the weeks ahead, I have, concerns here. We've talked about it for a while in the Word Weather Center. I've been concerned for a while, and we just got to hope we get bunches of rain. Maybe we'll get some rain next weekend, not this weekend, though, after tonight and early, tomorrow. We're not going to have another rain chance for probably a week or so, but we might get some rain. Might actually get storms and, stronger storms toward next weekend, but that's something to get into later on. Not this weekend, not Super Bowl weekend, but Daytona 500 weekend maybe, as we're looking ahead there. Valentine's Day weekend, also Friday the 13th leading into Valentine's Day and the Daytona 500 there. But we got to get past this first. Flagler County, we do have evacuations recommended there right now. This is very, fluid, and hopefully these get lifted pretty quickly as people want to go back to bed, obviously, if they've, already started, to sit down, relax for tonight. Maybe, they have an early shift and they've already went to sleep, and now they've been told by officials that there, are recommended evacuations in an area. I did have earlier a mandatory evacuation in North Baker, but that's been lifted. It's something where sometimes we have 62 counties, and we can't, get all the alerts from emergency management. Sometimes it's not a uniform way of putting it out to, the media, and it's very tricky here. It's not like a tornado warning, not like something that sometimes you'll see stuff on radar with plumes. Granted, I've been looking here, and it's not that close to either the Melbourne or the Jacksonville radar. I don't really see anything obvious right now on the Doppler here, but around the Corona community, let me throw that graphic back up here, because that's the most important graphic by far, is this one from Flagler County Emergency Management here. Residents between East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road and Old Dixie Highway and Deer Hunter Road are recommended to evacuate at this time. This is east of US 1, west of I-95. Recommended to evacuate at this time due to a fire situation. They might just have this as I'm not sure if this is a template, because I've seen one fire here really, but I guess it could be different hot spots in there. Shelters being opened at a fire station there. It's Fire Station 16. That's in the 3000, type of block there. 3935. There is the address. There, Old Dixie Highway. So, again, that's kind of the storyline as we're looking there. 3935 Old Dixie Highway is where the shelter is being opened. If you need that, you need that accommodation there. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest there. Trying to keep you guys up to date on this scenario. We're trying to, let you guys know here what is happening with this situation in the Flagler County right now. Again, just trying to inform you here, just trying to let you know what is going on. Just looking up some information right now because this is fluid. As we're letting you guys know here, we're letting you guys know. So again, just so important. So again, we're here at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock. Again, we have residents between East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road and Old Dixie Highway and Deer Hunter Road. They're recommended to evacuate at this time due to a fire situation. A shelter open, it seems, at Fire Station 16, 3935 Old Dixie Highway near the Publix. So, again, we have that recommended evacuation there right now. As we're looking here. So again, just Roy wanting to be mindful here. We're looking at this Old Dixie Highway. We're talking about, where this is, Fire Station 16. Again, we need folks to evacuate there right now. That's the recommendation from officials at Flagler County Emergency Management. So again, this is something that we, really need folks to do. I know, not expecting, here in the short term anything like the 1980s here, where we had that terrible situation in 1985 in May, where we had a terrible variety of wildfires that destroyed 150 to 200 homes or so in the region there. We had very ripe conditions going back in weather history. Here tonight, at least, we have the rain coming in, so this should be a pretty, isolated thing. We should at least have a little bit of a reprieve, but eventually our concerns, are gonna have to be, addressed here by more rainfall. Here's a look at a graphic here about evacuations as we're tracking things. Let's just go ahead. I'll take off my logo here so we can read this. I had this in here from last year for the California wildfires. Hopefully we don't have anything like that here in the weeks to come with a wildfire situation around as we're looking, as we're tracking here. But this is just, just always want to stay aware of the environment. Leave when asked by your local emergency officials. Take action immediately. If an evacuation is recommended by fire officials, want to try to avoid being caught in a fire, smoke, or road congestion, as a delay, possibly can cost you your life. As you need to take the initiative to stay informed and aware. Listen to your radio, TV, or alerts on your phone for announcements from law enforcement and emergency personnel. Cover up to protect against heat and flying embers. Wear long pants, a long sleeve shirt, heavy shoes, boots, cap, a face mask, goggles, or glasses, if necessary. I know we had the smog situation there in the Ward Putnam County this morning around Interlochen, fog and smoke mixing, which is always a cause for concern after what happened on I-75 around Paynes Prairie about 15 years ago. Didn't have anything like that this morning, but, some schools having to make different, adjustments there in the Ward Interlochen and Putnam County. But as you're looking at Flagler County, just ensure your emergency supply kit is in your vehicle and act your evacuation plan. That includes the route you'll take and designate an emergency meeting location outside a fire or hazard area. Hopefully this is going to be a short-lived situation with that rain coming in here for now, but we got to have more of it. We're going to have this over the weeks and months to come get worse and worse and more urgent potentially, just in a general sense here across the area. So again, just trying to give you the very latest here. Just trying to give you the very latest here on the situation, on this on this Wednesday evening. It's February 4th, 2026. And now they're on the monitor. We're going to update tomorrow. It won't factor in the rain we got today. But you see, at one point, I know Flagler was in a lot better situation than other places, but now everybody in our northern Florida counties are under either a severe or extreme drought. They're under a severe drought. They're at the last week update now. Tomorrow, this could get worse because we haven't had the adjustments being made there in terms of the rain now that's in progress here across parts of the area. That's not being accounted for because this only gets updated through early on your Tuesday each week. So as we're looking and as we're tracking things here, I know. So just trying to give you, these updated details as we're looking, as we're tracking things here. This is a very fluid scenario, obviously. A very fluid situation here. I know we had snow flurries the other day, and now, we had a wildfire threat that day because of all the wind, and now we have more of this wildfire concern. Until we get a drought-busting rain, we're going to have problems. It may unfortunately take a stronger system, to help us with the higher rainfall. We really wish we get the rain and not severe potential, though. We'll have to see. Maybe we get some of that rain next weekend, give or take. Obviously, we do not want severe weather with that, so we'll just have to wait and see. And we have all these freezes, hard freezes haven't helped. We're going to have another freeze on Friday morning here. As we're looking right now, it's 57 east of Stark where we're at. So that's not too big of a concern at all, in terms of the temperature right now. But tomorrow night, we're going to have the colder air, really in here. I mean, tomorrow's high is not even going to be, higher than 57. Probably won't even get to that for most of our area tomorrow. So a little bit of warmer weather. We're going to cool back down, and then we're going to get warmer weather again. And it could be tricky next week if we get, gusts of wind in here and we don't have enough rain. We could have problems. Let's just hope we can squeeze more rain out of this than we're anticipating. I was talking about last night, a tenth of an inch. Maybe we'll get a quarter inch here in north central Florida. We've only seen trace amounts so far now. So we'll see. We need more because otherwise we're going to get to about 80 degrees next week as we're looking for the high. And, we haven't had the warm temperatures really with this, which you would, in theory, I know didn't really have that in California as much, but, in theory, you would traditionally, expect with wildfire situations here, you would expect and think about the warm temperatures. So this is a little alarming to already be happening with the cool air. It does, make it, in theory, a little easier with all the gear on for the forestry crews, fire officials to fight these type of fires with it being a little cooler. But it's just probably a sign of things to come, unfortunately, as we're looking and as we're tracking things here. I know it was so weird looking last Saturday. Some of the local media, broadcast media out of Jacksonville, seeing them all bundled up for the cold and having wildfire situations. I don't remember that very much here. That's something really got to be just really concerned about, to be quite honest. That's a sign of, when it gets warmer, it could really get bad, in a lot of places here. Now, we do have some pretty good rains right now in Dixie County, around Cross City there. They're at 55 degrees. You see some of this cool air coming in from the northwest. And as I look here, we do have a little bit of wind gust action. So let's just hope we get this rain in here, because otherwise, when you have the wind, you have dry, and you don't have, wetness there. It just adds, more and more concern. Our dew points are pretty low back behind us. They've even pretty low in Flagler, just a little higher right around where we have the moisture. Of course, we have lower, type of values when it's drying out. Higher values here when we have more moisture at the lower levels as we're looking at things here. Let me go ahead and show you a look here at a map of some of the satellite here. You can see this is infrared. I want to see the water vapor. So let me switch that on over here. This is measure of moisture in the upper levels. You see, we do have some of that, but eventually, you start to see less of that as blues or a little bit of that, but then you see how low these dew points are. You see drier, and I know in Texas, for instance, I know after tomorrow morning, that rain is really going to be gone here again for a while. Or not great that we're seeing this with, rain so close here. In that it's a general idea that we, are seeing this concern today. The only good thing, of course, this specific fire probably be, it would be knocked down more by this if they get enough. But just the general idea that we have rain here this close, it just shows you how dry we are, and that you still have fire concern in areas that are getting rain. Even I'll go over that here in a moment. Let me show you some of the model guidance here. Let me go ahead and progress this on. As we're looking here, we're going to go to about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. By then, you see most of the rain out of the picture. But let me back this up. I'll zoom out too, just a little. I'm going to back this on up here. We're going to go to about now what it's supposed to look like with the model. And you can see some of the precip here. Again, we're not really getting too much in Bradford right now. It's just showing some moving across. And, you know, we're probably not going to get a whole bunch the way it's looking right now. I mean, I don't even have any on my rain gauge. I know we have had a little looking outside and looking at the cameras and the light that we have here. And, you know, just hadn't really have them on the, you know, estimates are showing here. Maybe upward of 4/100th of an inch. So I would say more of a trace. Let me check what Bradford Weather Stim has in their gauge here real quick for today. I know just it's a crazy situation here that we're, you know, having this wildfire concern, and we have rain around too. They're at 57 degrees at the Bradford County Sheriff's Office, and for the rain today, they've also picked up 0 in the gauge. I know they've had some trace amounts. There's some on the camera, but that's like what we have here. So yeah, it's not really not much. It's not enough. We gotta get that rain gauge to measure some here. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit. I mean, we need a quarter. We need a half. We need way more than that. But if we don't get a 1/10 of an inch even out of this, it's starting to get really rough around here. You know, in the weeks ahead. And of course, there are legal penalties. You know, there's burn bans in play, and there's legal penalties for those that, you know, they run afoul of the law. They go against the burn bans. You can, you know, be even criminally held, you know, by your local sheriff's office if you are, you know, going against that and you're causing problems, you know, especially if it's intentional. You know, you could be in some big trouble, and we gotta have people here taking this very seriously, because one little spark can cause big problems. A cigarette butt, you know, just anything can cause big problems, and you can cause, you know, harm to property, you can cause harm to lives there as well. So this is very serious, folks. And we really got to take this seriously in the days and weeks to come here. If we don't get the precip, we got to have precip, because we are just so dry. I mean, I'm going around this late afternoon, early evening to see how brown everything looks, and you know, there's just really no good out of that as we're looking here, because it's just going to be a cause for concern in the weeks ahead. You know, the only is I even hate mentioning this. You know, it might keep folks from having to mow their grass a little longer, but I mean, you got to have rain, because otherwise we're going to have fire concerns, which is, you know, much more concerning as we're looking and as we're tracking things. Again, this is, you know, just a sign of things to come. Problem, of course, if you're in that area, it's much more concerning there in the Ward Flagler as we're looking. Let me just go ahead and see that graphic once again. Breast fire in the area. Let me just check, because this is not something we get like updates directly from the Weather Service. So once I have to kind of, you know, just check with emergency management and their social media pages directly here. It's a little bit more of a fluid process. So it's just a one-man band here. So let me go ahead and see what we have. Looks like we just got some type of update here. So let me see when they sent that up here. At 11:06. Okay, do they have a different map now? I just need to make sure if that's... It doesn't look like they have a different map, but what they're saying here, just right off, as I'm just double checking this here. They have reduced some of the evacuation zone, but not all of it. Okay, they have a new graphic, it looks like, at least, in terms of just specific details. Okay, I see what they did. They didn't change the square on the map, but they changed the details within this. So we're going to put this up on the screen. We'll just take it directly. I have this in my graphics, what you're seeing, but they sent out a new update at 11:06 here. So in the last 10 minutes, they sent out an update now to Flagler County officials. So let me go ahead and get this to you here as soon as I can in graphical form. There's still some evacuation, but not as many as there were in terms of the geography type of wording with it. So let me go ahead and get that on up here. A little bit of good news, obviously, as we were kind of, you know, hoping for here, because it's a situation where it's a scenario here where we're probably going to have a lot of bad news if we're not careful in the weeks to come. As it's like it's a really, you know, a vulnerable scenario there. in terms of the brush fire concerns. So, about to pull this up here. I just want to make sure I'm pulling this up properly. There we go. Okay, that's the graphic. Now the updated one. Here's the latest details of updated evacuation details. The evacuation order has been reduced to only those properties immediately off of South Old Dixie Highway between, it looks like, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Carmelet Drive there, we'll say, / East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road. So the evacuation order has been reduced to only those properties immediately off of South Old Dixie Highway between Carmelet Drive / East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road there, according to Flagler County emergency officials. So this coming in here in the last 10 minutes. We're giving this to you as quick as we can here. Again, the evacuation area has been reduced in size. The square shows the same on the map, but the details are a little different now that the evacuation order has been reduced to only those properties immediately off of South Old Dixie Highway between Carmelet Drive / East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road. So that's the latest as of 11:06 p.m. From Flagler County Emergency Operations Center officials, Flagler County Emergency Management. So that is some good news. This is the old graphic, so let me go ahead and take that off of here, and we'll throw up the radar map here. Again, this is very fluid. I'm, trying to get this out to you as quickly as I can. So I had a traffic camera in the area. I thought I saw some smoke on that. Let me see if I can pull that up here and avoid the full screen. It's not far, from I-95 to the east, and it's looking back to the south and west there. This is in the vicinity of Corona. It looks like some haziness. So we'll go ahead and pull that on up right now as we're tracking things here. I'm going to pull that full, and you can see what I'm talking about here with this, a live Florida 511 perspective. You can kind of see that haziness, so be careful. It's a situation where I have rain coming in here soon, so hopefully it's going to knock things down some more, get a better handle on the situation here toward parts of Flagler County. So again, this is I-95 northbound at mile marker 278.3, looking southwest there on this, situation regarding this scenario here that we are following. So let me go ahead. We'll move away from that now. And we'll go ahead and see the radar again. That's what we want to see, some rain. We need more of that, though. We need a lot more of that. And we're not going to necessarily get that here as we're looking ahead. We do have a Florida Forest Service map here as well. Let me go ahead and refresh this to make sure this is the exact, update here at this point in time versus, 10 or 20 minutes ago. Things, have changed since then in, some regards here to the scenario. So make sure I'm giving you the very latest update here on this. We have wildfire all, over the state here in a lot of zones. The darker type of brown color there is going to be contained, as we're looking there. The gray color is going to be controlled, but the red here that I'm about to say, those are ones that are considered active according to the Florida Forest Service. So here you go. Red is active. Brown is contained, gray is controlled, and if there's a green ones on here, which I don't see any right now, those are just considered reported. So let's go ahead and see what we're talking about here. This is the one in Flagler County, and the latest update here is 50%. It was 40% when I was looking at this right before I came on the air, so a bit of progress there. The fire is 170 acres in size there. US 1 South there as we're looking at things. As we're looking there in that vicinity, this is Flagler County we're talking about. I know as we look at this map from the Florida Forest Service, we also have around Bunnell with a fire that's considered contained. And that's, that's one that dates back a good bit, but they still kind of keep track of this, I guess, just to make sure they don't reignite. As we look, I'll just go ahead and click on some of these others. In Putnam, we've had issues around Interlochen. Quite a few different fires around there. 90% contained in the Windy Hills. 2 there, only, a tenth of an acre in size as we're looking there. The Pace Court wildfire, there's, a fire here that's gone to about 318 acres there in size, and it's 75% contained there in Putnam County in the Interlochen area. as we're looking at things, that's in the Wakasasa area there that takes care of the wildfire scenarios out there in Putnam. I know as we're looking like in Flagler, for instance, they are in the Jacksonville field unit area. So, but going back over toward Putnam, we have one near Lake Ocklawaha. It's 90% contained, a clear-cut fire. We have here a situation, 95% contained fire, another one around Interlochen there. And you have a fire situation as we get into Alachua County, south of Waldo. There is 95% contained there. In the 301 area, another wildfire in northern Alachua. The northeast 10th Street fire is, been one that's been kept tabs on for a while. It's 95% contained. And as we get into Bradford County, it looks like right now, at least, there's only one in Bradford in terms of information here. It is considered contained at 100%. The Southwest 106th Avenue fire, 100% contained there. Swanee type of area, that's who covers up into toward Bradford. It's different. Bradford's in the Swanee office per se. The Alachua area, Putnam there, and Wakasasa, Flagler, and Jacksonville, for instance, different groups of people handling these, and even the information sent out in some ways. Just kind of put it all together though from the Florida Forest Service. I know you saw this maybe here around. It looks like not far from the Park of the Palms there in the Keystone area though. Is a Immokalee Road fire. It's 100% contained. This is something as about 6 o'clock tonight. It was only grew to a tenth of an acre in size there, so that's good at least. And again, 100% contained with that. Northern Clay County, we have the Ivory Crossing fire, 100% contained. I know that's good. 100% containment. We had an issue on Baker County with an evacuation earlier. It says, it's contained here. I know that sometimes the marker's a little different, I guess, but I'll go to 120 acres there. The mile marker 330 fire. This is as we're looking there, 80% contained, 120 acres there. We had a fire there further up. The Cedar Creek Farms fire, 100% contained. As we look there, you have the County Road 229 fire there. This is a few days ago, a 91-acre fire, 100% contained in southern Baker County and Union County, a state, or let's see here, South County Road, a 229 fire, 100% contained there. I said that yesterday. We'll zoom out a little bit on this map. There's a lot on here, as you can tell, and I can't go over all. We'll go out toward Big Bend a little bit. We have some severe drought over there. Don't see any, right around Tallahassee on this map at least. Hopefully that's a good sign that, we don't have evolving scenarios. We had the rain there come on through, and it's tricky with these scenarios here and the like. Northern Levy County, we have a fire there, northeast 93rd Terrace fire, 90% contained, 1 acre at the 428 Wakasasa. They're handling that. As we get into northern Marion County, we have the northeast 132nd Court situation there. We had got 4 acres and 90%. I know we had a situation around Dunellen. And let's see, is it on here? I'm not sure. We had a railroad tie situation in terms of those catching fire the other day. Not sure that's on this map. That's been put under control and out, but there's been concern about that in media reports and the like there. I know in St. Johns County here, as we're looking, the Waterwood Lane fire. This says a 0 contained. I don't know if they updated this or not. It was only a 1/4 of an acre. That says a 641 there in toward St. Johns County. So, and then up around Hilliard, we have the Henry Smith Road fire, 70 acres, as of earlier at least. Again, sometimes these don't get updated because they're, too busy working. Obviously, it's just about getting the fire out. That's the biggest, goal here. But the Henry Smith Road fire, 50% contained, 70 acres there, as of about 5 o'clock tonight. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with that, obviously. I know we have burn bans all over the place, as they are very much warranted, as things are, not great at all in terms of, burning. You do not want to be doing that here. This is very serious stuff. As you can tell, it's, very fluid, a very fluid scenario here. We do have the rain, though, which is good, obviously. as we're looking, as we're tracking things. And the biggest headline, the change from when we first came on the air is that they reduced the area where the evacuation is recommended here. Let me go ahead and get that graphic up here in the system again, because it's a different one from when I, put it in our other system there. So I'll make sure I get the updated graphic. Just bear with me here. Let me go ahead and see what we have with this, because there's the old graphic and the new graphic here that got put out since I came on the air. So let me go ahead and make sure I pull up the right one here. This is the new one. This is from Flagler County emergency officials. The evacuation order has been reduced to only those properties immediately off of South Old Dixie Highway between Carmelette Drive / East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road. So again, this is, in the Corona vicinity there. As we're looking there east of US 1, west of I-95, there in Southern Flagler County. So we're watching things, of course, across the area, giving you guys the very latest, with the updates. And, that's pretty much all we have right now. With that, we'll continue to monitor things. If we need to pop back in, we will. But otherwise, it's very, kind of hit and miss sometimes, and that there's not a uniform system for warnings. So sometimes it's more of just something coming out from local and it's distributed locally. Obviously, it's most important to get people out and the immediately, around it, the immediate vicinity. So sometimes maybe we don't hear about it until it's already kind of under control, which, that's a good thing, really, because we want to get, the resources all, diverted to get it under control. Don't need to tell the whole area about it if they can get under control real quick. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. So we just got to be very, vigilant here. We got to hope this rain gives us a little bit more, wetting the ground, more rain, and it's like 1/10 of an inch. We need more than that here, obviously, as we're looking. I know we have different folks watching on YouTube there. I appreciate you guys watching on that platform, for instance, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch here. In terms of just the last 12 hours, in terms of precip, we have got a good bit, according to radar estimates, around Tallahassee's counties here in Gadsden County, about an inch. So that's good. That's better than maybe, we were thinking there. Decatur County and into Ward, parts of Seminole County here, looking a little bit better than it could have been as well. But, we got to get this off toward the east here. We got to have that. This is what the radar looks like now. 4 hours ago, it was not, so many yellows. So, some of the models have gotten more toward, maybe Central Florida getting a little bit more rain, and up here, we'll see. This is giving Dixie County and Cross City pretty good amount of rain right now. So that's good at least. We need to get more of that, though, across areas, more, across North Central Florida, this whole area. Because I'm going to back this up real quick. I just want to see the movement on this. I mean, maybe we can get some of this to spread a little bit, further up here. In fact, let me see. I'll go ahead and send the high sensitivity mode. So it's gonna, because I was, looking for fire the other day. I was looking for snow flurries on here as well. Let me go ahead and this is gonna. Let me turn that sensitivity down. It makes it look way, more of a wet pattern than it really is. So let's just say the normal standard mode of the radar out of Jacksonville. And I just want to loop it because I want to see where this rain's headed and get a good direction on this so we can track this out here the best we can. So we're going to take it over to the other source here right now. This is going to loop it around for everybody. You can see parts of Gilchrist County and Dixie County getting into some of this here. As we're looking here, as we're tracking, I'm kind of hoping here, that we can get some of this to go more east-northeast, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see as we're looking and as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. So, we want that more, to get it more across Stark where we're at, for instance. We need the rain so bad. Everybody does, though, and not everybody's getting it. We're going to get it. We need the rain in Flagler as well. We're going to have some of this kind of push on through, but we just are continuing to watch the situation here, continuing to monitor it, obviously, as the situation does evolve. I know we really want this precip to, really kind of move on in here, so let's hope it does. Let's hope we can overachieve here all across the area. That's not going to happen, but I know, just hoping everybody can overachieve as much as possible. Hopefully we get some here around Stark, for instance, as well. That can really, wet the ground better and give us a little bit of a reprieve here. Of course, they need it in Flagler, as we've alluded to. And we're going to continue to watch that here. Continue to monitor things. I think that's about all we need to go over here right now. And with that, there's only so much we can say with that here right now. Just a little bit of wind to the east, a little more to the west, and we have, situations with burn bans. We got to really be vigilant. We got to watch out when we have smoke and fog mix. It's going to get warmer next week, and if it's still dry, it's going to be to some extent. We just hope it's not as dry as it could be. And then, otherwise we're going to have problems here probably. And then we're going to have maybe rain toward next weekend. Maybe, maybe I'm more optimistic on that than I said because that's way kind of out there. We just don't want severe weather with that. Way too early to know the details and all that here as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. So I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for the time being. I appreciate everybody tuning in and trusting me here. As we're following this on a Wednesday night on February 4th here, 2026, if you're watching with me live. So thanks for joining me for this Wildfire Alert coverage here. Again, we do have an evacuation continuing there as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things for a smaller area than when we first came on, though. The recommendation does continue. I know we have, different things that we're looking at here, different things that we're tracking. Let me put our sources ahead of everything here. We've been moving everything around here lately in our system, trying to, give you the latest, like on the snow flurries the other day, and now this, having to kind of take that turn, even though we did have some of that concern Saturday night as well, had higher winds, and, we haven't had the winds necessarily really bad today as we're looking. We did have them on Saturday, though, very bad across the area here as we were looking at things, as we were tracking things. I know. Let me just throw this on up here. Again, I got to put the new map up here because they had that alteration, which we got to take note of, obviously, here in toward the weather center. So let me just make sure we haven't had another update here in the last few minutes. It'd be great if we had it just completely dropped, obviously, as we're looking at, as we're tracking things. Let me just see, though, if I can find anything on this here. From Flagler EOC, looks like it's the same map here. The same map as we had, at 11:06 when they set that on up. So, so let me go ahead and see here. We'll pull this in. So that's kind of the storyline there. Gonna go ahead and leave you with this here on this Wednesday, on this 4th of February 2026 here. The evacuation order has been reduced here in Flagler to only those properties immediately off of South Old Dixie Highway between Carmelite Drive / East Avenue and Bayberry Village Road. So still some folks, the recommendation, per se is still in play, but other folks are looking a little bit better right now. Got to stay vigilant and obviously monitor the situation very carefully there. We don't want to lose homes, obviously, in this type of situation. We lost some outbuildings, I know, the other day in North Putnam County. So we really got to be careful here. This is, always rapidly evolving when we talk about wildfires here, especially earlier on in them. So later on, it may be more mop-up duty, but we still have an evacuation. So we really got to be careful there in the Corona vicinity in Flagler County. Please stay safe, and we'll keep you guys updated the best we can on this ongoing scenario. We need that rain. Let's hope and, pray that we can get that rain on in here as we're looking ahead in that timeline here, get more of that precip to, wet the surface here the best we can to, it'll just delay the threat until maybe we get a bigger rain on in here. We have some rain in the forecast tonight as we've shown you on radar, so that's something to be monitoring. I know you can do that on interactive radar on clearly.com. And just, again, we really want that precip to come on in there the best we can. Thanks for tuning in.